Welcome back, everyone. I'm Pushpa, as you already know from the last few hours. And I have the pleasure right now, one of my good friends coming to talk to us. Hi, Benjamin.
Thanks for having me.
We have Ben Breslau, who's the head of our Americas research for JLL. You've spent a lot of time over the last few years with innovation and with your focus being on research. How is that affecting your world and what's going on there?
I'll say it's an exciting time to be in commercial real estate, right? Welcome to the 21st century.
It's fast.
It's fast, but it's really fun. I think you can look at it two ways. One is scary, the other is incredibly exciting, and I think we've chosen the latter. And it changes the research world fundamentally in a couple ways. One is research typically is about supply and demand, analyzing markets, talking to our clients about what's happening in the nuances of the markets.
Right.
But really to advise our clients, we need to think about everything that's impacting real estate. So our research is now on innovation, right? We are researching not only real estate markets, bricks and mortar and buildings and sub-markets and vacancy rates and capital flows, but we're actually researching...
I was afraid you were going to bring up absorption.
Do you want to talk about absorption?
No, man. 20 years, I still can't do it.
But now we're actually spending time researching innovation. Our research isn't sort of set. We do the same thing every day, every quarter. We research what's most important to our clients, and guess what? Innovation, technology, digitization. So we spend a lot of time, our research time, thinking about how does that impact demand in the markets, how does it impact how buildings work, how does it impact how we work, and how do we use it to help advise our clients in the mix with all that other stuff.
So we talked to Aaron from your group earlier today about Blackbird.
One of our superstars.
And he did very well.
Yep.
Was talking about Blackbird and data visualization and how does that really help with site selection and things like that. What other kinds of things do we offer as a research group that are along those lines of taking it to the next level?
Yeah, so this innovation wave has impacted not only what we research, but also how we research. Right, and then how we present that research. So there is a ton of sort of automated data collection process stuff that's helped make our lives more efficient. There is quite a bit of data science that's coming into our world in terms of advanced analytics and predictive analytics and things that we're starting to do that are different from what you used to do, in a spreadsheet or in a PowerPoint slide, that really have transformed how we can analyze and interpret data. And then the point you made about what Aaron and his colleagues that do our GIS and BI kind of technologies around our research team, that's becoming a core part of our offering. So it's not just about...
Let's talk about that, because back in the day, we used to have a map and we'd rub dots on it, and it's so much different now, thankfully. But that's become a big part of what we do.
I'm wondering, Push, because you and I have seen that in action in our earlier days. Even though we don't look that old, but we have seen that in action.
And we're not old.
I still hear to this day brokers reminisce like nostalgically about those days when they see us on these new tools. They say, "I remember when," and they always talk about rubbing the dots on, and then how hard that was to change if you got it wrong. And
or if your hand was holding it down and you rubbed two dots at one. I mean, it was a nightmare.
Yeah, we could have a whole session just on that, like the dots on the maps.
So why is it?
Well, what's interesting, if you even take a step back, and then I'll come back to that in a second, like our industry, a lot of I talk about our research because that's what I'm focused on, but a lot of the segments of our industry really haven't changed that much in the last 30 years, other than like letters going to faxes, going to emails. When you think about a lot of the process stuff that we do. So this is really an opportunity for us as a company, and we're on our front foot with it and working with a lot of the startups out there to help us. This is an opportunity for us to really think about process, think about how we interact with clients, think about not just the dots on the map, but all those other things that we do where you should, finally we have a way to say, well, is there a better way to do that? And really, make ourselves even better. And the stuff that you heard from Aaron earlier and our whole GIS team used to be sort of research, and then on the side over in the corner there was someone working on, there was a mapping specialist.
Right.
Now it's just an embedded part of our team. It's just what we do. It's analytics, it's research, it's analysis, it's data visualization, both with GIS, with other really cool visualization tools that are coming up. And so that's becoming a core skill. And really, again, I talked about it being an exciting time. In our world, that's much better than being stuck in the spreadsheet or the PowerPoint slide of the past.
It must help retain people too, attract new talent, retain, that we're not doing things just the same old way that we used to.
Yeah,
right?
Absolutely. And the key there, I think, in some ways, as taking myself out of just the research discussion, as part of our leadership of the firm is, we have to be brave in hiring people that know more than we do about all this stuff, right? Mm-hmm. Because I love the Steve Jobs quote that I don't hire smart people so I can tell them what to do. I hire smart people so that they can tell me what to do. And I really feel like that's just got to be a core element of innovation if you want to do it right. You got to hire bright people who are passionate about what they do and let them run.
So I don't know if I'm putting you on the spot here, but what kinds of things have you learned from people telling you what to do in terms of the talent that you've hired? What kinds of things have come up that you either wouldn't have thought about, didn't realize were as hot topics as they really are? Are there any examples there?
Yeah, so I think this whole kind of BI analytics, data visualization, which we talked about already, is a really good example. So I grew up as a real estate economist and a property researcher. You've known me for a while. I've been doing this for a long time, and so you get stuck in your ways. And having a fresh perspective about how to look at data, how to interpret data, how to bring in really different sciences. Real estate economics is a fundamental science and modeling, and we've done that for a long time really well. But this is becoming, kind of omni-channel, to take a term from retail, right? This is becoming really about tapping into data science, tapping into, psychology, and sort of how humans work with space and interact with space and what makes them most productive, how to tap into, physics and chemistry when you're talking about some of the environmental stuff, how to tap into computer science. And so I think I've learned a lot from people coming in.
It's way different than traditional research.
It's way different. It's way better. It also has its risks and flaws. So it's not about blindly going, where no one's gone before. It's about testing those things. In some cases, doing them in parallel with the traditional way until you figure out what works and what doesn't. But we tried purposely to run pretty flat, and we've had more great ideas, including some things that have become real products, like Blackbird, which is a core product that JLL uses to visualize.
And that started out of just someone's idea.
That was someone. That was a broker and a couple of brokers, and then a researcher at a desk in a local market that we said, hey, that's a good idea. It didn't come top down, but now it's been really embraced by the whole company, and it's one of those things that, in hindsight, makes so much sense. Like, real estate doesn't work in columns and rows. It's a visual, 3D, dynamic experience. So why not view it that way? But you need creative people and people who are willing to break the mold and be willing to fail at some things to get those things right.
I mean, here today at Disrupt CRE, you've seen there's lots of different startup companies, and your team is really monitoring the hundreds of startup companies. What are they doing in the different categories? We've talked about Blackbird and a lot of our GIS platform in general that we've built. What about some of the partnerships that we have? I mean, it's something like MIT out of Boston and Cambridge. One
of the things we realized, this is the researcher's perspective, one of the things we realized you have to do is really research the landscape. It's just like researching the real estate landscape, but as I said before, researching. So we actually have a team that is tracking the startup community, as an example, and meeting with the CEOs and the founders and the CTOs and the product people and giving them feedback, because we believe that if we play in that ecosystem, we're going to be much better off. We're not going to develop everything. We need to. The other thing we realized, and this goes back to my point about the sciences that you need to tap into, which is a little different from bricks and mortar real estate, is that it's all about getting the most intellectual capacity focused on whatever the issues are. And so we have a big presence in Boston, where I'm based, and so I had the good fortune of having a good relationship with the folks over at MIT. The MIT Center for Real Estate, which is one of the foremost real estate programs in the world by any measure, has a new innovation lab, a real estate innovation lab that they've founded, and we are a founding partner of theirs in that effort, and exchanging ideas about research, about innovation, about what technologies are likely to come into the real estate space, how they're likely to impact real estate, what those implications might be for the industry from their perspective, from our perspective, from our clients, both investors and occupiers, and then what do we do about it? And that's really fun.
And so, is it top secret, or can we talk a little bit about, how? How does that, it sounds
what's
good.
it worth to you?
I'll buy you a drink, because I know we both need one.
No, it's. I mean, some of the stuff that they're doing obviously is intellectual property of MIT. We have the good fortune of being, as a founding partner, being under the tent with them, but they are really doing a lot of amazing things across the spectrum in terms of figuring out how to look at data and how to tap in to the capacity that they have to crunch data and to look at the science behind it. They're looking at things like blockchain and the Internet of Things and autonomous vehicles and artificial intelligence and really like this range of things that's the next level. Yeah. We're focused on process improvement and incremental innovation within our company and connecting with startups, and they're already looking ahead. What's 3 to 5 years out, and how might that enter the commercial space, and that helps us be ready for it. And it's really, really fun. And we can be sort of a commercial sounding board for them. There are incredibly smart people over there, as you might imagine, and in a way, they're sort of inspiring us, which is great.
And helping us push forward.
And as a company, we also want to. We want to be contributors not just to our success and our clients' success, but to the landscape. And so by helping to support research at the Innovation Lab at MIT, we sort of feel like we're helping to contribute as well.
And you're out there a lot as a speaker at different conferences, at clients, and just helping them understand what's going on. What's the feedback you're getting from clients around innovation? Because it doesn't have to necessarily be in real estate, but as it relates to their needs, what are you hearing from them?
Yeah, I think as it relates to their own needs, in a lot of cases, it's where do we start? How can you help us? We're bombarded with offers, whether it's from service providers or the startup community or anything else. We're sort of bombarded with offers of technologies, and it's. I overheard one of your earlier guests, and I think it's true. One of the real challenges is the integration part. So what we've tried to do is, for ourselves, as you know well, but also for our clients, is help them think about which components to start with and how to integrate. But the next step always is, well, where should I invest in order to tap into what's happening? So, there may be we may see a trend of, for example, a boom in cybersecurity as it relates to. A part of technology in general that's really booming right now for a variety of reasons. The international sort of hacking issues and so forth. And so that you may want to invest in Northern Virginia real estate, because that's an area where cybersecurity is really prominent. Or people looking at autonomous vehicles, and they know that there are hubs in the Bay Area and in Cambridge, but they may not know that in Pittsburgh there's a lot of activity around autonomous vehicles, and so there may be demand for real estate. So there are all these levels of the CRE tech world, both how it can innovate or disrupt companies, how it can help you get ahead.
Where the consequences or the implications
the downstream
that you wouldn't necessarily.
Yeah, how do you make money off it? Where are the value plays going to be? How do you get ahead of that curve?
And so is your group monitoring those kinds of things and helping to advise on that?
Yep.
And what's the hottest stuff right now then? Is the cybersecurity, that's one of them, right?
Yeah, cybersecurity is a big one. There's a ton around IoT and Internet of Things, and that I feel like is a big one. We're starting to look into the autonomous vehicle piece, which I think is really interesting in terms of the implications.
So what does that have to do with real estate?
Well, if you have autonomous vehicles, you may not care when you buy real estate or when you're an employee and you work in real estate how close you are to public transportation, as much as you do now. You have to figure out what to do with your parking garages that currently take up a lot of space. Look at an aerial image of a lot of big cities and you'll be amazed at how much surface parking lots there are or parking garages there are.
Right.
You have to figure out where to put the servicing stations for the autonomous vehicles. You may be more willing to live in the suburbs instead of in the city and commute in if you can be productive during your drive. You don't have to be on the wheel. So you think about all those things. That's just one example, but there's a ton there that is really interesting. And the one other thing I'll mention, just in
you say it, and I feel like now it should have been obvious. Like I'm kicking myself.
No, it's not. It's not until you get into it.
How these self-driving cars would matter.
Yeah, and the question then becomes, are we a year away from that being a reality? Are we 3 years away? Are we 5 years away? All of these, you got to figure out where are they in the cycle. And the reality also is that they may not all work at the beginning. You'll have some mistakes. And one of the things you know about innovation is you have to be willing to fail as you go.
Right.
And so, trying to figure that out is really interesting. Like I said, it's a fascinating space. It's an exciting time. And we're spending a lot of time and effort on it.
But it sounds like it's all worth it because we're finding out some really cool stuff and great partnerships like the one with MIT and a lot of the startups. So thank you for being here,
Absolutely.
Benjamin.
Thanks for having me, Push, anytime.
Kind of fun, right?
Yeah.
You can come back.
Absolutely.
All right.
Love it.